What's going on, everyone? ODC here, and I'm back with another action figure review. Today's review is going to be the Neca Friday the 13th Part 2 Sackhead Jason. Talking about Jason, he looks really cool. I like all the accessories he comes with. This is kind of like an Ultimates version for Sackhead Jason. And this is the Part 2. This is where Jason... well, technically we saw Jason introduced in the first one as a small child. That is technically the first Jason. And then we saw him at the end of Part 1 also in a kind of like maybe like a dream sequence. Some people like to think of it as a dream sequence, that she imagined it, that Allison imagined it. But to me, I think it actually happened. Maybe she ended up being pulled out of the river. I don't know. I guess it all depends on your interpretation, what you think. But anyway, this is the full-grown version of Jason, obviously Sackhead Jason as he's known. As far as the packaging does go, we have some nice packaging from Neca here. The nice window box display that we continuously get from Neca, which is very consistent. Always looks gorgeous, whether it is a movie or a kind of a throwback to like a NES or Super NES or one of the video game styled packagings. They always look really good. I love it. It says body count. The body count continues down here. It says Friday the 13th, Part 2 down there. It's got a nice picture of unmasked Jason popping out of the water and kind of grabbing a girl out of this little canoe right here. It also shows a nice silhouette of Jason with an axe in his hand. And then on the side here, we have a picture of Jason kind of popping through the window, which is pretty cool. It says Friday the 13th up top, Part 2. Then it says NECA, and then it says Real Toys. On the back, we have a nice picture of Jason in 3 different sequences here. Him holding his spear, the kitchen knife, and what looks to be the machete with an unmasked head. Looks really good. I like the little table setup. This is actually, I think, taken out of the movie with his mother's head and the candles lit, and then we have or we have her sweater right there. On the other side, it mirrors the previous side I showed you with Friday the 13th, and the bag had Jason coming out of a window. And then opening it up to the inside, we have a nice window box display for Jason sitting in his, I guess you want to call it, plastic coffin with all of his accessories. And then over here, we have a really nice picture of Jason with his mining pick, which looks really good, I think. And then we have his little bit of the little fire pit right there by his feet. And I think that's a really good photo. I really do like that. And we have a nice little woodland background. And then up top, we also have Friday the 13th Part 2. Okay, and we're back with all of Jason's accessories out in front. And I gotta say, he does come with quite a bit of accessories here. And I'm pretty pleased with pretty much everything that he comes with. He does come with this pitchfork, which looks really nice. I really like the sculpting on this said pitchfork. We've got some nice silver paint up here with some dry brushing going throughout. I don't think I see any blood or anything on there. It would have been cool if they maybe included some blood like they did with the machete and the pick, but or the mining tool, I should say. But I think it looks pretty good for the most part. Let me see if I can focus here a little bit on, there we go. That's much better. As you can see, there's some dirt and some grime, nice dry brushing going throughout. And then on the other half, or the other side here, we have a really nice dry brushing going throughout the handle onto the rest of the pitchfork. So that looks really good. So it comes with a pitchfork. And then up next, we'll show his mother's gruesome head, which is gruesomely awesome. Really like this head sculpt. It looks really good, I think. And it's very reminiscent to his mother that we've seen in the movies. I always thought it was still interesting that, this decaying head still had eyelids at this point, seeing as eyelids, hair, and teeth. I would have thought that those would have probably been decaying by now, but seeing as this is I guess only a couple, not that long after the mother's head was chopped off. So, but the head looks really good though. I like the subtle dry brushing going throughout the hair. I like the little subtleties that this has, like you can see some of the scalp actually coming through some of the hair. Looks really good. They did a really good job with the paint applications on this. I've always been pleased with Neca and their paint apps. And then down here we have the severed head. And you can see all the gross little chopped off, hacked up head pieces. Maybe it's pieces of her vertebrae. Pretty cool looking though. Here is Jason's unmasked head, and wow, I gotta say it looks really cool. It's almost like Sloth meets the pro wrestler Raven for some. I don't know what's going on with this. Is Jason with long hair, and obviously he's got a deformed eye. Maybe his mother dropped him on his head, something like that. I don't know. Her precious Jason. But you can see he's got definitely a cauliflowered ear and all this grotesque deformed head. It looks really cool. I like the blondish hair. Looks pretty cool. I like that. The receding hairline is pretty crazy. Almost looks like a little bit of Mick Foley right here. A little mankind going on here with Jason. But looks pretty cool. I'm pretty pleased with it overall. I really like the sculpt of this. Obviously, the sculpt is where Neca shines the most, and then I would say the paint apps are number 2. Sometimes the paint apps are number 1, but really the sculpt looks just so damn well done. Their sculpts just keep getting better and better over time, too. Okay, up next, we have, and I already showed this, but I'll show it again. This is his little bit of fire kindling, whatever you'd like to call it, fire pit. It would be the technical term. There's a lot of nice paint shading going throughout, like I pointed out earlier. And then we have his little bit of kindling right there, and then obviously the removable flame effects, which looks really cool. I'm probably going to keep the flame effects on. I mean, it would be kind of pointless to not have them on unless you want to do maybe a night scene with Jason creeping up on a bunch of sleeping people in sleeping bags. You could go that route if you wanted to. But everything looks really good. On the bottom here, it's pretty much like a flat surface. Nothing too special on the bottom. Next up, we have his mining pick. And on one side of the blade, you have some blood and some pretty cool detail as far as extra paint effects go on. I'm surprised that more of these weapons didn't come with some blood effects on at least some of the edged sides. But to nonetheless, it looks good. So we've got some blood right here, blood on this side, and it actually doesn't mirror each other. It's different on each side. And then we actually have some blood on the handle portion, which looks pretty cool too. So I don't know if that's picking up on camera, but it is there nonetheless. I know it's a little bit dark here, but just to point that out, it is there. And then the rest of the handle portion, it's pretty much just a brown paint. Next up, we have this spear, which looks really cool. Nice diamond-shaped tip. It is painted a silver color. A little bit of paint slop right here. Not the biggest deal in the world, but it's something I just have to point out. Maybe a little bit more paint slop down here. Not the biggest deal in the world, but it is painted a nice brown color. It looks really good. No blood effects or anything on the spear, unfortunately, but it looks pretty good. It's very long. Next up, we have the butcher knife, which looks really cool, or the culinary knife, whichever term you'd like to coin. It looks really good. Some nice shading going throughout to give off the sharpened look. Looks really cool. I like that. No blood effects on this either, unfortunately, but nonetheless, it still looks really good. Pretty pleased with how it turned out. Nice brown handle. Looks really good. I like that they even included this little bit of silver for the blade running through the handle, which is kind of accurate to a lot of butcher's knives. They tend to go that route as far as having the handles kind of pinned in or bolted in, whatever you'd like to call it. But that's pretty cool. So nice knife there. And then finally, you can't have a Jason figure without a machete, right? You got to have your machete with Jason. That's just his spiel. Pretty cool looking. It's pretty interesting that we got I think this is the bladed side on this side, actually, the kind of turning in, the side that's kind of turning in, actually. So it looks pretty cool. I like that the like the butcher's knife, it's pretty much the blade continuing through, and then you've got the handles kind of bolted in on each side. Looks really good. I like the silver paint for the little divots right there for the bolts. And then we have the sharpening side right here. And then we have the duller side right there. And then we got some blood spackled extra paint effects on there. That looks really nice. On the other side, we've got more blood effects on this side. Looks really cool. And then we also have some paint shading for to show that this is a sharpened blade. So maybe he only has to take one swipe at you to decapitate a limb or a head or some sort of body part. Okay, as far as Jason's articulation does go, obviously his articulation is going to vary depending on which type of head you have on. Obviously, the Sackhead Jason head is probably not going to have the same amount of range of motion that the unmasked head will. We'll get to that in a second once I swap the heads. What I'll do is while I'm going through articulation, I'll swap the heads, and then we'll go through different styles of articulation for each head. So with the sack head on, you kind of get a swivel and not a whole lot else, really. It can't really do, I guess if you really force it, I wouldn't do that though. If you really force it, you can do a full 360 rotation. Not that you would technically need to unless you wanted to have him with like a snap neck or something like that. But yeah, I still think it looks fine just like this. You can get the range of motion that you need with him looking over side to side. You do have a little bit of a jiggle right here. It's nothing crazy. No jive turkeys, by the way. No gobbles. But that's Jason with the sack on. And then here we have Jason without his mask on. And it looks pretty cool. I like the way it sits on the head. You do have to kind of line up the hole with the peg sticking out. But I didn't really have an issue taking the head off or putting the new one on too much. Like I said, you just kind of have to line up the hole here. But he can do a full 360 rotation. He can look up and he can look down. He can tilt side to side and a little bit of jive turkeys, a little bit of gobbles, just a little bit. So there's that with the head, and I'll just leave this head on for the rest of the articulation. The arms go up about that far, and they go down. A full 360 rotation at the arm. Then we have a single bend at the elbow. Not the best bend, to be honest with you. It's less than 90 degrees, which is kind of leaves you wanting. We do have a swivel at the arm, a swivel at the wrist, or the elbow, excuse me, a swivel at the wrist. And then we have it on a kind of a ball peg joint where you can tilt it up and down, left and right a little bit. Not the best range of motion there either. He does have a waist swivel, which is underneath this rubbery type of overalls right here. You can crunch forward and back, and then you can swivel also. He does have T-jointed hips, crotch hips, which go out. They're on these nice hinge joints, which look pretty cool. So they can get the splits about that far. The legs go forward, and the overalls over here are like a rubbery type plastic for, it's almost like a little diaper, kind of like a onesie or whatever you want to call it. Legs go forward, legs go back. Nice back motion for that. And then a single bend at the knee. He does have a swivel at the knee as well. And then he does have ankle articulation with the pointing of the toe like that. Pointing of the heel, it is hindered due to the sculpting of the pant. And then we have a swivel at the foot also. So that's pretty much range of motion and articulation for Mr. Jason Voorhees. Okay, as far as Jason's paint detail and everything goes, I'm going to do this, the paint detail analyzation and everything with the sack head on. I just, I waited so long for this sack head Jason that, I think it would be like a shame to not have it on his head. As much as I do like the unmasked head, I gotta have the masked head on. It's just, for me, that's the way it works for me. But it's nice that they give you the option if you want the unmasked head. But anyway, the sculpt looks really good on the masked head, the sack head. Looks really cool. We've got a little bit of rope sculpted around his neck with some nice paint. We've got some dirty, like almost looks like stains going around the front of his sack head right here, and it does continue on throughout the rest of the sack head, showing a little bit of dirt and grime going throughout. It looks really good. Very pleased with that. As far as the shirt go, he does have this like plaid shirt going on. It looks really cool. Nice little, very 80s feel to it. Nice blue and black colors going throughout the shirt. Looks really nice. And then we kind of have his Oshkosh Bagosh overalls on here. Some nice paint shading going throughout the center of the overalls, and then continuing throughout the legs. We've got some, as the lower you get, the more dirt and grime you get for the legs, which is really just pleasantly surprised me as far as how well they get this dirty paint detail going. Even on the boots, there's some paint detail on the boots to give off that like he's been chugging and running through the woods, which actually this Jason does run, which is pretty cool, I think. And then on the back, we've got a little bit of mud butt right there. We got some paint detail on his butt, on the overalls up here by the straps going up, and even on the back of his legs. So really good job with the sculpt, and overall all the paint detail. And that's pretty much what I expect from Neca in 2018. Is it's always going to be about sculpt and detail and paint with them. They always just knock that out of the park. I never have really that much of an issue with any of their paint details, with any of their sculpting. That's always there for Neca. Okay, here we have Jason stacked up next to a couple other Neca figures. On the left here, we have the Keaton Batman, which is still one of my favorite Neca figures to this date. And then on his right, we have the Tech Noir Arnie from Terminator, the original Terminator. So there's your size comparisons with those two. Okay, up next we have on the left of Sackhead Jason, we have Jason Lives, Friday the 13th, Jason Lives, right there. Another one of my favorite Jason figures. And then on his right we have Friday the 13th 3D, which is the third installment to the Friday the 13th. Still to this day my favorite Friday the 13th. And then the final chapter would be another one of my favorites. But there you go with those two comparisons. They stack up well. And now we have a comparison with two DC figures. We have a DC Icons Aquaman on the left. And then on the right of Jason, we have a DC Universe Classics Hawkman on his right. Okay, and up next we have two Marvel Legends. On the left, we have the Bucky Cat body mold in Multiple Man. And on the right, we have the Hyperion body mold in Bishop. And lastly, we have Motu Classic. We have Vicor on Sackhead Jason's left. And on the right, we have Mythic Legion Sir Gideon Heavensbrand. Okay, so my final thoughts, my final verdict on the NECA Friday the 13th Part 2 Sackhead Jason Voorhees is definitely a recommend here. For $20, you can't beat it. I mean, even if you spend, I think, $25 on this guy, I think you're still getting your money's worth. He comes with a lot of accessories, really cool accessories, really good paint detail, decent range of motion, not the best, really good articulation, though, as far as the points of articulation. I really like the fact that he comes with a lot of accessories that he would need, but a little bit extra with that little bit of a fire kindling right there, the little fire pit. I think that's a really nice touch, nice little added touch. I wouldn't be surprised if down the line maybe we start getting some victims down the line for Jason to kind of maybe do displays with. I think that would be a pretty cool little touch. Maybe like a little an extra accessory pack like they've done in the past with some victim accessories, but that would be pretty cool. But anyway, I digress. This is definitely a 2 thumbs up. Let me get both my thumbs in here. There's another thumb. There we go. There's a 2 thumbs up. Highly recommend getting Sackhead Jason. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Happy Halloween to you all. Have a very safe Halloween. Hope you guys enjoy it. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell for notifications until you see 2 little parentheses hanging over the bell. That way you get all your notifications. Hit the like button. It's free to do. It takes 1 second, and it helps my channel out a lot in case you like my content. If you didn't like it, give me a thumbs down and let me know how I can improve my content in the comments below. Also, leaving a comment helps my channel a lot due to YouTube's new algorithm. So if you want to do that, that would be very helpful. If not, that's cool too. I understand. But you guys have a great Halloween. Enjoy yourselves. And I'll see you guys on the flip side.